Hello there, Slamscape here with an Elite Dangerous video. Today we're going to be taking a look at my bounty hunting and combat zone Vulture build. It is a build that is pretty tanky for a small ship and hits hard. The shields are strong with a relatively short recharge time, and its weapons use fuel instead of ammo, so it is a very long uptime, which makes it ideal for both long-term bounty hunting and combat zones. It is easily able to handle both hazardous resource extraction sites and high difficulty combat zones. The Vulture is a surprisingly strong small ship. It is fast, very maneuverable, and is able to fit 2 large weapons. It is one of only 2 small ships that can fit large weapon hardpoints, the other being the DBX. Its main weaknesses are a lack of jump range, that it can only equip 2 weapons, and issues with power plant capacity, although the power issues can be solved with engineering. The main fun of this build is the Vulture's ability to take advantage of 2 large hardpoints. I use 2 Class 3 plasma accelerators, with efficient engineering and plasma slug as the experimental effect. Plasma accelerators are unique in that they do 60% of their damage as absolute damage, which ignores your target's resistances for both shields and armor. They also have a high 100 armor piercing, which lets them do full damage regardless of your target's ship size and armor. The efficient engineering improves plasma accelerators' damage by 11%, while also lowering their power requirements and distributor drain. It also greatly reduces their heat generation, which lets you fire more frequently without overheating your ship. If you're looking for alternatives for weapon loadouts, there are many options. An efficient beam laser paired with an overcharged multi-cannon with a corrosive shell experimental effect is a balanced choice. You could also run 2 multi-cannons, 2 fragment cannons, or 2 pacifier fragment cannons, engineered to overcharged. In each pair, one should have the incendiary experimental and the other should have the corrosive experimental. This allows each loadout a good mix of shield and hull damage with a little more ease of use over the plasma accelerators. The Vulture has access to 4 utility slots. For one slot, I run a heatsink in case I overheat from using the plasma accelerators. However, it can be swapped out for something else like chaff or a kill warrant scanner. For the 3 remaining slots, I use A-rated shield boosters, 2 engineered to resistance augmented, and the remaining one with heavy duty. All 3 shield boosters use the supercapacitors experimental. These provide heavy damage resistance while still keeping the shield's recharge speed relatively fast. For the core internals, it's your pretty standard loadout with a few personal preferences. For the armor, I like to run reactive surface composite engineered with thermal resist and deep plating experimental. When factored into the hull reinforcements we will be using, it will put our armor resistances to around 40% across the board. For our power generation, use a 4A power plant engineered with overcharged and thermal spread. This is necessary to overcome the ship's low default power output. Next, 5A thrusters with dirty tuning and drag drives for maximum speed. 4A frameshift drive SEO version with increased range and mass manager to maximize our low jump range. 3D life support engineered lightweight for speed, although if you frequently find your cockpit being shot out, I would recommend shielded engineering. Next, a 5A power distributor with the standard charge enhanced and super conduits for maximum recharge rate. And finally, 4D sensors with long range grade 3. I find this to be a good balance between weight, scan range, and power requirements, although you can lightweight them if you're trying to get slightly more speed. Next, we have the optional internals. These help fill out our shield and armor strength, as well as add in an extra fuel tank to keep our plasma accelerators running for a long time. For the Class 5 slot, I use a 5C bi-weave shield generator engineered to thermal resist and fast charge, which, along with our shield boosters from before, will give us very resistant shields. The Class 5 military slot will use a 5D hull reinforcement engineered with heavy duty and deep plating. The Class 4 slot will use a 4C fuel tank that we are primarily using to keep our plasma accelerators running for a long time. This will help you last through a long bounty hunting session or a high combat zone. In the Class 2 slot and one Class 1 slot, we will use module reinforcements to help protect our modules in the events our shields go down. The remaining 3 Class 1 slots will use 1D hull reinforcements engineered with heavy duty and deep plating. These will help strengthen our overall hull and its resistances. Now that we've gone over all the components, let's take a look at some of our final stats. Our jump range is pretty low at 23.63 light years, but overall range is 187. This is due to the extra fuel tank. The top speed is 342 with a respectable 554 boost, which, with 4 pips to engines, can be used almost constantly. The Vulture is also very maneuverable in pitch, yaw, and roll, and has powerful lateral and vertical thrusters. For the shields, we wind up with an average of 50% resistance, adding up to about 3,800 effective shield, with a relatively fast 1 minute 11 seconds recharge rate if downed, and another 2 minutes 22 seconds back to full. For armor resistances, they are around 41% for an effective armor of 3,300. The plasma accelerators have a DPS of 47 and do about 180 per shot. However, remember, 60% of that damage is absolute and ignores any resistances on your target. Some small ships can die in 1 or 2 volleys. Let's take a look at the build in action. First, we'll look for a target. Looks like another Vulture, so we'll see if we can beat our doppelganger. I'm going to target the power plant, although it might not be necessarily. We should take down the hull before we need to worry about their modules. We're beginning off with 2 volleys. Their shields are already down to 35%. So we're going to keep whittling down the shields. Generally, you don't want to be attacking when you're going backwards. You want to be using your momentum to help increase the shot speed to make it easier to hit. Miss there. You can see we've already got our target down to 50%. And that's with a bunch of misses. So, alright, that was 30-something%. Alright, just like that, we killed an expert Vulture. We're at 90% shields, full health. Let's look for another target. Looks like a Type 10. It's already damaged, but it's a nice, easy to hit target. So, yeah, 2 hits already. There we go. Done. Granted, we had help, but you can see the power of the plasma accelerators. Alright, so that is a Asp Explorer. 95% hull. We'll see how quick we can take this down. Right, so that was almost, that was a 40-something% hit. That's another 10% left, and now dead. So, you can see, against slower targets, it's pretty strong. The Vulture is a powerhouse of a small ship, especially when fully engineered. It's able to hit hard and soak up damage, but is maneuverable and small enough to avoid taking a lot of that damage in the first place. I would recommend everyone have at least one Vulture in their fleet. You won't be disappointed. I will include a link to my Vulture build in the description of this video. I hope you found this informative. Thank you for watching.